father was a colonel in the first, he was a major in the First World War, and the Second World War came along, and he was just organizing speakers and things like that. He wasn't active service. He was still in the reserve. He was colonel of the Queen's York Rangers. I had a boyfriend in the Navy and one in the Air Force, so I thought, well, I might as well go to the Army. What did I train to do? I trained to, I went on my basic training. I got my basic training, and he sent me on to the NCO course, which was non-commissioned officers, and I was posted to the Advanced Training Center, and I instructed at the Advanced Training Center for people going to train people. It's a lot of people for the basic training. And then they opened a school of instruction, and it was for instructors instructing instructors how to instruct. And I was there for about a year, a little over a year, and they were closing the school down. And I was one of the first women to have what was called an ACI, assistant instructor, with 2 stripes, corporal. And later on, I had some leave, and because I was going to be finished with the School of Instruction because it was closed. So I went down to Halifax, and I met my husband, who was not my husband at that time. He was just a friend that I hadn't seen for over a year. And that was Sunday when I arrived, and Monday we decided to get married, and Wednesday we phoned our parents and told them, and we were married on a Saturday, much to everybody's surprise, much as everybody said that we were just another wartime waiting, it'll never last. I went and our 60th anniversary came, we had that printed on our invitations to people for a sort of a joke about the things. And then, unfortunately, I went to Halifax. Well, fortunately, I was posted to Halifax, and I was a platoon sergeant. And I had a platoon of Cape Bretoners and Newfoundlanders. Now that was an education, and they were the greatest bunch of kids you could ever meet. And they used to go out with the sailors, and the sailors would give them a bottle of rum, and the rum would end up in the barracks, and I'd have to charge them for coming in with a bottle of rum, trying to keep them out of trouble. And this bottle of rum that my one kid brought in, the sergeant major and I had to pour it down the toilet, get rid of it, and we cried for hours. But no, not really. We were very brave young soldiers. Well, they were working, some of them were working in the messes, and some in the kitchens, and some in the cleaning staff, and some of them were secretaries. Quite a lot of them were secretaries. And just sort of women's work, mostly to get do their part. They were always enthusiastic, and they didn't have any real trouble with the men. The men were semi-respected them if they did a good job, but they were usually quite young. We did have one grandmother, very young one. They looked down as the soldiers' playthings, I think. But I never had any trouble with it. I became much more independent, except that I got married, so I turned into a housewife. With my Army crowd, because it changed all the time. Except, I was never with a group more than 6 weeks, 8 weeks. We were training or training other people, or going to Halifax, and never regretted going in the Army. I was so pleased with the way my father looked after me, and he knew everybody, and he was having the darndest time, and I have a whole bunch of letters trying to get Joy her commission. Well, they wouldn't give in because they said I was too young. I had an immature voice. I hadn't enough Army experience, but eventually I won my way through. After my Halifax experience with the platoon, they said I managed the platoon very well, so I could go on the officers' training course. My father, yes. Oh, and we're beaming at each other, and that was the only picture that came out of all the people the photographer was taking pictures of. That was the 10-mile victory parade, and we marched all over Montreal, and we were in our greatcoats when we started out. It got so hot we had to take them off and march in our tunics, and then get back to the train, and we did a display in Toronto when I was on my sergeant's, my non-commissioned officers training. We put on a victory balloon display, and I was in the squad that was demonstrating good marching, not the awkward squad that was doing everything wrong. And I have pictures of that. I don't know whether they're in my book. I was in Canada all the time. I never went overseas. But as I say, with my tongue in cheek, I did spend 2 years in Quebec. All my training was done. I didn't meet many that had the same education and everything I had, but they were all doing the job, some of them which I wasn't suited to do. Oh yes, the drivers. We had a wonderful driver in St. Annabelle. She was quite a character. I don't remember. Somewhere in Ontario.
Do you think most people join because it was a sense of adventure, or
I think
chance
they
to
joined for duty and for sense of adventure and for a job. So, all the ones I happened to be with, they were gung-ho. I think we were in the Canadian Women's Army Corps, which was a separate corps when they would work for the Army unit, but they belonged to the CWAC unit. They'd have a CWAC unit in Toronto who supplied the secretaries, etc. I talked about before. But they weren't very well kept up after the war, and I never went back to anything except the 60th anniversary of the founding of the Quacks. And I didn't know one person there because I had been in this isolated group in the training center. I say we were the first bunch to get the Akai back for our arm. And we were trained by men. And on our basic training, we were trained by men. No, they didn't take everybody. Some of them had reputations that had reached them. And, well, they didn't. It was different if that happened while on their watch, but they came in with a reputation like that. And some were very slow learners that they wouldn't take. In Halifax, I was acting company sergeant major in a victory loan parade and all this sort of thing while the sergeant major was on leave. So that was an interesting thing. We had decided to have a wedding reception, and I knew I knew 3 people there from before. One was my bridesmaid when I got married. I had a Christmas card from her this year. And we lived, Jeff, my husband, lived in a boarding house, and there were about 14 people in it who came. And then Jeff had been there working with a staff of Wrens and everything, and so Wrens being the Navy's women group. And so he'd call them up and ask them what they were doing Saturday afternoon. And he said, well, I wonder if you'd like to come to my wedding. One gal said to him, oh, you poor guy. I don't know why she said that, but she thought, my dear boy. We had a big punch bowl that the staff brought. His staff and the people in the boarding house brought booze. And you only got 1 bottle a month. And the ones that were civilians who brought it, they gave up something, which was very nice of them. And we went and lived, after we were married, we lived in this boarding house. And it was really fun. We had a room off the dining room. And one morning when we woke up, we heard that the invasion was on from the 2 women washing dishes in the hadn't have been in the dining room. They must have been clearing the tables or something. Saying that, yes, the invasion is on. So that was a great D-Day. And as he said once to me, well, the day we get married, that'll be D-Day. California.